First, the headlines. The government sets a 6-month deadline for non-biometric passport holders to renew them. The FCE meets with the British and German ambassadors to strengthen economic ties with the two countries. And funerals were held on Thursday for African migrants who drowned in the Mediterranean's worst ever migrant disaster. Hello ladies and gentlemen, you're watching Dzair News and welcome to this English News Edition. First in our top stories, after a long period of anticipation, consumer loans were being introduced by the Algerian government in their newest form according to a new executive decree. The loans apply for all goods and services that the citizens want to benefit from for personal gains only, away from any professional or business purpose. Lamia Ashush.
After lengthy hesitations from the relevant authorities and frustrating anticipation from the citizens, the government has finally revealed the principles and conditions of the re-established consumer loans in their new form. According to the executive decree related to consumer loans, the latter consist of all sorts of sales operations of goods and services, for which the payment is made through installments. Beneficiaries of these kinds of loans, according to the decree, are normal people who may use the loans to benefit from goods or services for personal gain only, away from all business or professional purposes. The decree, in its fourth clause, stresses that the institutions qualified to benefit from consumer loans are those active in producing or selling goods to the private sector and those who use invoices for their sales transactions. And to avoid the problem of debts, the law defined the amount of money paid monthly, which cannot exceed 30% of the person's net monthly income. As for the total payment period, it should not be under 3 months and not go over 60 months, as per the decree. Besides all this, the executive decree also provides for the total or partial loan payment possibility before the end of the payment period allocated for it in the loan contract. Should the sales contract for which the loan is taken be terminated or annulled, the loan taker must be refunded within a 30-day period.
As a guest of the National Radio Channel 1, Ahmed Ben Ayad, the CEO of the National Housing Budget Agency, reassured those Algerian citizens who applied to benefit from the ongoing housing program that state-subsidized housing under all its forms will continue. And during the same talk show, he revealed the overall financial package allocated by the state for the achievement of this mega housing program across the national territory. More details with Karim Faz-Zakri.
Reassurances pointing out to the continuation of subsidized housing under all its forms were made by the CEO of the National Housing Budget, Ahmed Ben Ayad. He said that the so-called negative certificate testified that the applicant doesn't own other accommodation, and which stirred a lot of controversy, is just part of the conditions to benefit from housing to shrink the so many demands. He further assured the contract holders that this kind of certificate mainly aims to serve them. Ben Ayad revealed the amount of housing financial support in all its kind, which the National Housing Budget provided during the first quarter of the year 2015. It reached 163 billion dinars, a sum divided into 80 billion dinars for the social housing, 34 billion dinars for the countryside housing, 11 billion dinars for sale rent formula, and 3 billion dinars for urban housing. Ben Ayad also revealed the results of 2014 when the National Housing Budget financed the housing program with a financial package amounting to 548 billion dinars. As for the housing applications submitted, the National Housing Budget counted more than 600,000 applications in IDL housing and 700,000 applications for the social housing and the same number for the countryside housing. In a related context, as a guest of the National Radio Channel 1, Ahmed Ben Ayad reminded the applicants of the conditions to benefit from the National Housing Budget. He said the income of a couple shouldn't exceed the amount of 180,000 dinars monthly and not have been benefited from governmental support by any means, nor owning a plot of land destined to dwelling construction.
The Algerian government has given a 6-month deadline starting from May up to November 2015 for non-biometric passport holders to renew their passports. This move was accompanied by the necessary measures to ensure the well-functioning of this crucial operation to make Algerian passports tally with international standards. Lamia Ashush again.
6 months is the time period which the government gave non-biometric passport holders to renew them, ahead of the final deadline to completely eliminate them before the upcoming 24th of November.
People will start coming on the 24th of May. We are ready for any case of overcrowdedness, and we have brought new equipment for the administrative districts and consulates. We're ready for this.
All the necessary measures were undertaken to absorb the massive amount of citizens that will flock to their administrative district headquarters in the next 6 months, taking into account that more than 2 million biometric passports need to be issued in the immediate future, with a total of 8 million by the end of the deadline.
Today we have reached 5,200,000 passports. I think the total amount will not exceed 8 million. So we have approximately 2.5 million passports left.
In addition, a website will be created to connect all administrative districts across the country with a national center of documentation. This will represent a national online service center that would enable administrative workers to address the citizens' concerns about any delay in the issuing of their passports, as well as any other questions that may arise along the crucial 6-month period.
As part of his series of meetings with government decision makers as well as accredited ambassadors to Algeria, the FCE President Ali Haddad hosted 2 representatives from 2 major European economic poles, the UK and Germany respectively, to go through investment opportunities and maximize business flows. Mustafa Assouk.
The head of the Enterprise Forum, Ali Haddad, is continuing his high-profile meetings with decision-making figures as well as accredited ambassadors here in Algiers. This time, the FCE president welcomed representatives from 2 major European economic forces, the UK and Germany respectively, to discuss business opportunities in both countries with the aim of boosting business flows and exchanges.
We had an interesting meeting with His Excellency, the UK Ambassador. We talked about various files related to investment opportunities in both countries. We have also expressed willingness to support UK companies willing to invest here in Algeria, as well as bring in expertise from vocational training.
For his part, the UK ambassador in Algeria, Andrew Noble, stated that a joint Algerian-British committee organised an event in London under the theme Come to Algeria that aims at promoting the Algerian investment environment away from the hydrocarbon sector.
I was doing this week in the City of London, is come to Algeria and see what Algeria is. Look at Algerian ambitions across all sectors. And if you are prepared to share your technology and to train your staff, then Algeria wants to hear from you. And I've just been talking with President Haddad about exactly that in as many different sectors as Algeria has ambitions.
To move forward and industrialize its economy that is based on international standards, Algeria needs the German efficiency to overcome the hurdles as well as the British expertise to plan the future.
In the latest on strife-torn Yemen, protests renewed, fighting and fresh airstrikes have marked the start of the Saudi-led coalition's new phase of operations in the country. Thousands of Houthis fighters and their supporters took to the streets of the capital Sana'a on Wednesday to protest against the nearly month-long military offensive. Fresh airstrikes were conducted on Wednesday, hours after Saudi Arabia said it had ended the air campaign against Houthis who forced out Yemeni President Abdurrabbu Mansour Hadi from power last February. French Prime Minister Manuel Valls says police have foiled at least 5 terror attacks since the country witnessed a number of deadly attacks earlier this year. The French premier made the remarks during an interview with Radio France International channel on Thursday. A Franco-Algerian youth named Sid Ahmed Ghlam is currently being investigated by police for being involved in an alleged plot to attack a church near the capital, Paris, on Sunday. Authorities say they have found evidence suggesting he planned to carry out one or more attacks. In other world news, funerals were held on Thursday for African migrants who drowned in the Mediterranean's worst ever migrant disaster, as European leaders prepare to discuss measures to stem the flow of those risking their lives to reach the European continent. The funerals were held in Malta. Shakib Lawishi.
Diminuer le nombre de morts ont été présentés. Or, notre constat est,
An interfaith ceremony was held in Malta Thursday to bury 24 unidentified victims to the Mediterranean worst migrant boat accident ever recorded. The man died alongside an estimated 800 others when a fishing trawler carrying migrants destined for Europe capsized off the coast of Libya Sunday. Religious leaders attending the funeral called for a more human approach to the migrant crisis, which has left 1,750 people dead so far this year. Meanwhile, the European Union has called an emergency summit on the issue in Brussels, and their response to the crisis should be finalized during Thursday's discussions. Whether the European Union hears these prayers and devises a humanitarian and effective action plan remains to be seen. The Union has come under fire following the latest wave of deaths for drastically reducing the rescue operation in the Mediterranean Sea. The extensive Mare Nostrum search and rescue venture was replaced with Triton, a much less ambitious border control system. Last year, the number of migrant deaths has since risen exponentially, with the current death toll standing at 30 times 2014's equivalent figure. The emergency summit held in Brussels on Thursday aims to come up with a plan to stem the flow of migrants attempting the hazardous crossing and reduce the number of deaths. The emergency summit held in Brussels on Thursday aims to come up with a plan to stem the flow of migrants attempting the hazardous crossing and rescue the numbers of deaths.
In the same context, UK Prime Minister David Cameron and other European Union leaders will consider efforts to identify, capture and destroy vessels before they are used by traffickers. Draft document shows European Union leaders meeting in Brussels on Thursday will consider launching a military operation against Libyan migrant traffickers. On the eve of the emergency EU summit on migration in Brussels, Matteo Renzi, the Italian Prime Minister, said the country was at war with the migrant traffickers who are responsible for the deaths of as many as 1,000 migrants in the past week alone. In technology-related news, the newly devised Apple Watch goes on sale on Friday, but Chinese factories are already preparing cheaper alternatives to the delight of local consumers. This smartwatch that runs on an Android system will threaten Apple's business in the East, especially that the watch only costs 1/6 of the set price. Shakib Lawishi.
Apple has been hugely successful in China, and industry analysts expect its new smartwatch will be a hit with status-conscious consumers in the world's most populous country. But it is priced from $510, and Chinese alternatives cost only about a sixth as much wholesale. At a production line in the manufacturing hub of Shenzhen, workers in blue shirts and flip-flops soldered, glued and screwed the watches together, dropping them onto a conveyor belt after each step. In contrast, some analysts estimate Apple has already had several million orders worldwide for its watch, with the first retail consumer set to receive their products on Friday. Chinese wristband offerings differs from Apple's. Most use SIM cards and essentially function like phones, while the Apple Watch depends on the iPhone for many of its functions. The Apple Watch will have to face a serious competitor in the Eastern market. It is true that it can't be considered as a serious threat, but it will certainly take parts of its market.
In world boxing news, tickets for the Floyd Mayweather versus Maki Pao fight were put on sale for the first time. They were sold out in a few moments, and experts have predicted that some will now go for $100,000 on the resale market. Maher Mizrahi.
When they mention Pacquiao, they say, who is that? They say, that's the guy that we trying to get to fight Floyd Mayweather. When they say Floyd Mayweather, they say that's an all-time great.
Tickets for next week's fight between Floyd Mayweather and Manny Pacquiao finally went on sale on Thursday, and they sold out in a matter of minutes. The MGM Grand Casino in Las Vegas has a capacity of 16,500, but only about 1,000 tickets may be bought by the public. The rest will go to fighters, the casino, sponsors, and promoters. The cheapest ticket for the fight will cost $1,500, and the most expensive will be around $7,500. However, some are expected to reach $100,000 on the resale market. One broker, for example, Precision Concierge New York, is selling tickets for as much as $87,500. The pay-per-view boxing match has been called the most anticipated boxing bout since Ali Foreman fought in Rumble of the Jungle. Floyd Mayweather has amassed an impressive record, winning all 47 of his fights. Pacquiao is more experienced, and he has won 57 of his 64 fights. Many think he is the only fighter talented enough to stop Mayweather's indomitable record.
Last night in European Champions Football League action, Real Madrid and Juventus progressed to the semi-finals of the competition. The draw for the semi-finals will take place tomorrow, and the first legs will take place on the 5th and the 6th of May. Maher Mesahi again.
After Bayern Munich and Barcelona, Real Madrid and Juventus advanced to the semi-finals of the UEFA Champions League. In the Madrid derby, both sides were deadlocked for a stalemate until Turkish midfielder Arda Turan was sent off for a high boot with 10 minutes remaining in the match. After Atletico were reduced to 10, Real Madrid intensified their pressure, and in the 88th minute, Cristiano Ronaldo played a 1-2 with James Rodriguez and served Chicharito, who swept the ball into an open net. Monaco hosted Juventus in Wednesday night's other match. The Principality defended well, and Tunisian defender Ayman Abdenour played extremely well. But Monaco lacked incisiveness in attack, and they failed to score. The 0-0 scoreline ensured Juventus progressed to the semi-finals for the first time in over a decade. The emergence of a supergroup of clubs in the Champions League has disturbed some fans. Bayern Munich, Barcelona, and Real Madrid have made 6 of the last 7 semi-finals and have won the majority of those tournaments as well. The draw for the semi-finals will take place tomorrow afternoon, and the first legs will be played on the 5th and 6th of May.
And finally, to wrap it up, the go-ahead for the shooting of a new Liberation War movie by film director Ahmed Rashdi has just been given the kick-off in the capital of Arab culture 2015, namely Constantine. The movie depicts a long, tiresome and bitter struggle waged by the valiant Algerian population who snatched their independence forcibly from a harsh colonialist yoke which didn't know any mercy. Karim Faz-Zakri.
The director Ahmed Rashdi has just given the go-ahead for the shooting of a new war film in the capital of Arab culture, Constantine. The movie is based on the novel of Mohammed Marfia, which portrays a long, tiresome and bitter struggle of a population who wrenched their independence by force from an atrocious colonialist. It's a story which we turned into a scenario. I think it's a very good source to base the movie on. It simply puts in plain words that the common sense of what was taken forcibly can only be retrieved by force. That's what pushed the Algerians to lift arms. Constantine, Algiers, Msila and Batna are the sets of the movie where its breathtaking events are going to take place. The movie will last 2 hours and will be shot in a 14-week period. Notable Algerian actors will star in this film. I have the role of Thabti, the son of Haj al-Aid, who is one of the main characters in the movie. The story of the movie revolves around the Algerian cause and the bond between Algerians and their land. There are reportedly 15 cinematographic movies being shot according to the Ministry of Culture as part of the big event Constantine, the capital of Arab culture. And it seems that in the offing there is a program of opening many movie theaters which were closed before due to many reasons.
There is this program, God willing, for Constantine to have its movie theaters. It is a renovation program. Anyway, the reason behind this is to encourage the cinematographic production in Algeria.
The insistence of the movie director Ahmed Rashdi to dig deep into the past to recollect a common memory of 1,000 years comes after his last work, The Lion of the Ouras, Mustafa Ben Boulaid. This movie will be a historic imprint which will enrich Algeria's cinematographic register.
The end of our English News edition. Thanks for watching. Bye-bye.